Thank you, Angela. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you, the audience, and share some thoughts. So, so let's move to the next slide. So this slide really just generally classifies various kind of biosensors one could think of. There are many more, but these are some of the very emerging popular devices. Of course, we have seen a lot of wrist-based biosensors, and then another class is what we are heavily involved in, really the biosensor patches. You can call them or wearable biosensors, whatever the preference is. And then there's a new class of devices also coming along, and we have been involved in couple of these devices with some customers. Is the ambient sensing. So in these all different settings, it's all about what the experience level of consumers are or the patients are who are really using these devices. Of course, the wrist-based devices are easy to wear, but their functionality is very limited, and generally they're not accepted typically in the regular kind of clinical world, although they're finding their way in gradually, but it's mostly used for consumer wellness. And the middle one, where you are clinically monitoring patients, either a therapy of some kind or diagnosis, this of course is an area where primarily all the medical science today is practiced, and also these biosensors need to be highly accurate. You are going to make very serious, actionable kind of decisions based on the data coming from these devices, and this is where trillions and trillions of dollars are going, really taking care of patients which are basically in this domain. So that's the area we decided to focus on, while we still are interested in other areas. So that's general positioning. And our whole goal of the company was really, how do we remove the wires? Because you go to hospitals, even outpatient procedures some time back, like Holter and so on, they were all done using the wired sensors. So the question was, we have untethered so many things, starting with the cordless phones, eventually moving on to smart devices, the computers, then why people remain tethered to these monitors is really how the thought was started. So if you move to the next slide. So the vision we see is that, or we had in mind was, one day the wireless, the hospitals could be all wireless, where people are wearing patches, they're moving around, they're constantly monitored. You can get up from your bed, you can go to bathroom, but you're still being monitored somewhere. You can walk across the hallway. So that kind of world is within reach. It's very possible. So how do you really enable that? Because if you go to hospitals, 80–90% is still things are tethered. So it really needs to be done, but the change has been gradual. Then you can do, of course, the same procedures at home are becoming a little bit more common because the problem is less severe at home. You don't have too many people. When you have too many people, how do you guarantee the wireless channel for each of them? You need to make sure if there are 50 people in close proximity, all of them could be monitored flawlessly without losing a data packet and so on, or whatever the minimum loss you can afford. So home monitoring would be another major one, and that is you can do the same things what you're doing in a hospital. You should be able to deliver the same kind of care at home as well. So there's virtually no difference whether somebody is in the hospital or outside the hospital. And then also on demand, when people are feeling something, they should be able to take the patch out and put it on, and to be able to consult with doctor, where we are working with a company, a 12-lead patch people can carry, and you can diagnose whether somebody is about to have heart attack or not, or should they run to hospital. So those kind of things will become possible. And then more recently, we are finding, as the COVID has shown us, we are getting enormous interest, back to work. Companies are looking for solutions, how they bring employees back to work and give them the comfort they are being monitored and so on. So again, you can do quite a bit with these kind of biosensors at clinical grade, that where you can help them. So anyway, so this is a connected world. We will see it won't matter where you are, and you are basically, you can move through the continuum of these things and really be monitored somewhere. So that's the exciting word. And we do believe that biosensors are going to be the enablers here, because unless you can capture the data at the source, the rest of the systems will materialize. So that's where we wanted to focus in the beginning. So this slide 4 really, once that idea was set in our mind that we need to create super reliable these biosensors, which also can scale to very high volumes, because obviously any product really is only a good product if it could be deployed in massive volumes, helping a lot of people. So idea was always that how do you create such a product with that in mind. So wearable medical biosensors, as we call them, we understood these are going to be a new class of devices, and not only we have to develop these biosensors, we also felt that we have to create enough kind of a customizable ecosystem where the adoption of these things become faster by people. Because my experience in DSP in early days, when we launched the first DSP chip at Texas Instruments, one problem was there were no DSP engineers, so most world was analog. So how do you really create tools, and how you begin to give the idea of the DSP to people so that people think differently? So it was quite a very interesting what we did. We worked with MIT, Georgia Tech, where a lot of initial work was going on in DSP, and created the right kind of tools to help students and so on. So we see similar thing, that healthcare industry lives kind of almost stone ages, unfortunately, and they're very reluctant to change. And when you put such kind of highly complex wireless devices in their hands, the adoption is not that easy. So how do you help people to create systems pretty rapidly and make it really easy? All that was part of the thinking. And then also we made some very clear goals for these biosensors should be to be ready for mass volume. So we 4 things are listed at the bottom. They must be disposable, single use, because that's what medical world likes, that you use it and then toss it away after whatever, 5 days, 7 days, whatever the life you want to have. And clinical accuracy, of course, because you'll be making life and death decisions. Multi-parameters we felt was the key, that as many parameters as possible on a single patch. And then, of course, ultimate reliability and security. And I told the team that, look, our competition is wire, because that's how the biosensors are connected to the GE Philips, these patient monitors. If you cut that wire, the first question is wireless channel as reliable? If I've got 50 people in this room today, each one can through the wire, could be really getting the data into the monitor, but would these wireless devices similarly put the data across? So that was also, thought to be kind of a really very key thing for these kind of bio patches. And then lastly, we felt that one day the only way, as it has happened in commercial industries now, that cloud-based systems eventually are making difference everywhere, and we do believe that healthcare will be delivered using the cloud-based systems. That is the best way to scale. Even developing countries where it is non-existent, once you have a disposable patch like this one, which is reasonably low cost, and you have a cloud-based system, you can pretty much scale the healthcare pretty rapidly, even in the remote areas. So that was the general vision, and so what we really set out to kind of play our role in this vision, that how we want to work. And the technology is heavily patented. We have over 20 patents in multiple areas. The next slide really shows a little bit in bit more detail that one thing we realized was that most of the monitoring is done with the wires. Even today, unfortunately, even today, that's the situation. And the proof is that about 5 to 6 billion ECG electrodes are shipped per year by companies like 3M and Covidien. And if you look at the next most commonly used sensor is SpO2, And even those, I think there are a few 100 million or so these units shipping per year. And although they're becoming gradually wireless, but a lot of things are still remain wired. So the idea is, how to, if you want to have the similar world, but have everything to be wireless, then you have to really solve a big problem that, how do these things get used in multiple configurations, 12 lead, 3 lead, 5 lead, 7 lead systems, ECG. Then you also have to deal with many other parameters, like SpO2, respiration, heart rate, blood pressure eventually. So we wanted to make sure, eventually I had to make every wireless. And so we made a list of all the key parameters which physicians are used to today. And then also, once you are building these biosensors, what attributes those biosensors should have, which is again shown on the right-hand side. I already kind of briefly talked in the previous slide. So the whole idea is that can a parallel world be created where everything is wireless? And the market should be probably a few billion patches per year, because if you look at the shipments of these wired devices, today there are 6 to 7 billion per year being shipped as we speak per year. So it's a massive market, and this is the only way probably the whole healthcare world will go wireless. If you really think like that, if you think in isolation, I can build this gadget for somebody and offer a service, yes, you will. You will build a probably reasonably good company. But if you really want to have a massive change in the healthcare, this is how one should think through. So this is what we set out to do, basically, what is being shown on this slide. Our priorities were very well defined. What we were looking for was very well defined, that we have to check off all these things which are listed in this slide, both in the two boxes on the right-hand side. And we were convinced the only way you can do is create a silicon platform, because any major evolution, was in the introduction, what Angela mentioned there, that any big industry where there is some hardware involved starts with creating a targeted silicon platform. It happened in Wi-Fi arena, creating a single chip Wi-Fi solution. It happened in DSP world to create a world's first DSP chip. It happened in microprocessors. So you can take so many examples. So this is a massive industry, and it's a very valuable one. Trillions of dollars get spent on the healthcare. But unfortunately, nobody has taken time to design a silicon platform for the biosensor patches. Still, people pick up Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, whatever they can get their hands on, ECG chip from somewhere, an SpO2 chip from somewhere, and try to basically hack a system, you can call, and they'll become ugly-looking products will result, and also the performance will be pretty poor. So we were convinced that if you know what we want to build, which was clarified, then we need to create a silicon platform which is tuned for these biosensor patches, and to satisfy all that criteria which are listed in the previous slide. So we took a major effort on our. We worked with Europe's largest semiconductor company, ST Microelectronics. They became our partner back in 2011. And we kind of helped us to co-develop. So we have 3 radios to maintain wire-like connectivity. First, on the left-hand side, we included all popular interfaces, for the signals we wanted to have, for these patches to have multi-lead ECG going all the way to up to 12 leads was our goal, heart rate, respiration, that's what you saw earlier. Even then other things like motion sensors, even microphones can be embedded in the patches, and all that was really planned in that how the signals will be collecting and how it will be interfacing. Then the microcontrollers, there are 2 microcontrollers actually, one for managing the chip and the second one for the OEM. So then the remaining data and so on, the multiple radios, so we can do a kind of reliable transmission. So all that was done so you can offer a single chip solution, and all you need to put is a battery and an antenna, then you can build a patch. So using that kind of chip now, the same platform, we have built actually multiple patches already. Here it is on the one was FDA-CE HSA cleared, which was the 2-channel ECG and heart rate. Then we're introducing the next one. Actually, this month it is moved to production with the skin temperature and so on added, and then SpO2 that will be introduced in July, where SpO2 is also available on the patch continuously. So all these, there is a common software platform behind these patches, and you can basically pick and choose, what you want to use in a system, and build systems which are kind of shown here. So different partners are building different kinds of systems. Somebody is a cardiac monitoring, other one is a more generic remote patient monitoring. We are working with the workforce safety, people bringing employees back to work kind of scenarios in different geographies. So this kind of ecosystem, we also have partners and also, some other parties we work with to put these kind of systems together. And then we offer this slide shows that we have different actually pieces, that how there is the idea of the relay devices. One could relay the data to the cloud through the Wi-Fi access points to other kind of and eventually end up in the server, and then a larger system can interface with this our ecosystem, and then you can build an end-to-end system. So I think maybe in a couple of minutes I'll stop here. And by the way, we are quickly customizing this system. The patches we shown to you for COVID-19, especially application, where we have seen the data that how people are really rapidly, after they catch the disease, how quickly some patients can really get into danger zone. So idea is, can you monitor them early with these kind of patches? And there's a lot of work going on, and we already have made some announcements, which you can see on our website. And another thing we will be soon adding would be the AI which will be running about 5,000 patient trial. That how do you, because many COVID patients do not have symptoms, so by looking at the data, because there's so much of clinical data coming from these patches, combining that with some other data sets, you can really do very reliable kind of risk scoring and so on. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to share. This last slide is, it took us like 2000 to 2020 to do this thing right, because every step was tough, doing the silicon platform, which took about 3 to 4 years, then building the patches, then building the ecosystem, and finding the right partners all along. 3M-like companies have invested in us, so we really can guide the company. So now we are actually fairly international company with locations in Valley, New York, London, Ireland, Singapore, and Bangalore, where a lot of our work goes on. So anyway, that is very quick rundown in the given time, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Magar. And please make sure to type in your questions in the chat. I am looking at that. I wanted to